In a quiet village nestled among olive trees and dusty paths, a child was born, not in a palace, but in the stillness of a stable. The world did not notice him at first. No trumpets declared his arrival to kings or priests. Instead, a few shepherds. Men of the fields and wind heard a song that night from the stars. They followed a light knot of this world to a place where the eternal had wrapped itself in human flesh. This was how the story of Jesus began, not with thunder, but with breath. With straw beneath him and the scent of animals in the air, he grew not with privilege, but in simplicity. His father taught him to shape wood, to listen to the grain, and let the materials speak. He learned to build with his hands, not just tables and chairs, but also patience and silence. As he grew, the boy listened more than he spoke. He watched how people treated one another, how the proud overlooked the hungry, how the learned shamed the poor, how the priests praised laws more than they practiced love. And something in him stirred, not like fire, but like a seed cracking open. When he was 12, he sat among the elders in the temple, not to boast, but to ask. His questions surprised them, not because they were clever, but because they burned. With sincerity, he wanted to understand, not to win arguments. He disappeared for days, and his mother found him in the courts of stone and scripture. Already drawn to the sacred, already outgrowing what the world expected of him, then he vanished. From public life? For years. What happened in that quiet stretch of time, no one fully knows. But when he re-emerged, it was to find a prophet in the wilderness, calling people to wake up. This prophet, wild and untamed, wearing camel skin and shouting by the Jordan River, recognized something in him. And when Jesus stepped into the water, the world changed. The heavens split, not visibly for all, but spiritually, and a voice said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." But he did not return triumphant. He was driven into the desert, where for 40 days he fasted. Their temptation came not in grotesque form, but with subtle offers. Power, glory, safety, but he refused each one. He chose the harder road. When he returned, he did not seek power. He walked among the sick, the outcast, the invisible. He touched lepers when no one dared, spoke to women when society shamed them. He wept with those who wept, and laughed with children who climbed onto his shoulders. He did not build armies. He built parables, stories about farmers, coins, vines, and mustard seeds. He told people the kingdom of heaven was not a place beyond the stars, but something already among them, within them. Crowds gathered, not because he was a spectacle, but because he made them feel seen. He healed without charging. He forgave without demanding rituals. He taught with authority, yet his authority came not from robes or titles, but from truth that resonated like music long forgotten, yet not all welcomed him. The powerful saw a threat in his humility. The priests saw danger in his grace. The lawkeepers saw a rebellion in his compassion. He broke their rules by healing on the Sabbath, by eating with sinners, by claiming that love was greater than sacrifice. Still, he walked forward, not to avoid death, but to meet it. He told his closest friends that he would be betrayed, that he would suffer, that he would die. They did not understand. One of them would sell him for silver, another would deny knowing him. When the soldiers came with swords and torches, he did not resist. When he stood before the authorities, he did not defend himself with anger. Mocked, he remained silent. When beaten, he bore it without hate. They nailed him to wood, the very substance he had once shaped with his own hands. He hung not between criminals, but with them, and yet even then, his concern was not revenge, but mercy. "Father, forgive them," he said. "They know not what they do." The sky darkened. The veil of the temple tore. And for a moment, silence reigned across the land. They buried him in a borrowed tomb. His followers scattered, confused, and grieving. But death, which claims all men, could not hold him. On the third day, the tomb was found empty, not by kings, but by women, the very ones society ignored. He appeared not first to rulers or priests, but to those who had loved him quietly. And his first words were, "Peace." Over the weeks that followed, he returned not as a ghost, not as an idea, but as one who could be touched, who could eat, who bore the marks of the nails, yet radiated something eternal. He walked with them again, broke bread, reminded them to love, to forgive, to serve. Then, just as quietly as he had arrived, he left, ascending not with spectacle, but with blessing. But his story did not end. It began again in every heart he had touched. The fisherman who had once feared the waves now stood before crowds. The tax collector who had once exploited now gave to the poor. The doubter who had touched his wounds now proclaimed his name. Jesus was not just a man. He was a mirror in which humanity could see what it was always meant to be. His life was not about religion, but about transformation. He turned the world upside down by lifting the lowly. He did not teach people how to die for God. He taught them how to live for love. And today, his name is still spoken. It's not because of power or conquest, but because of the quiet revolution he began. One soul at a time, one breath at a time. One act of grace that still ripples through history like a river that refuses to dry,